What's up, loves? Welcome back to our channel. I'm here with Karine.
Hello, hi loves.
For our sister Q&A. I guess we'll just jump right in.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. And Greg is going to ask us the questions.
First question comes from Mysterious Loves Company. What took you to Switzerland?
Yeah, well, basically, Switzerland was never on my map, to be honest, as a place to live. But I was living in Chicago, and I met my husband, who's Swiss, at the Chicago Opera one night. It was the first opera I'd ever been to, and I decided to go kind of on a whim. And my daughter's right next to me. What, sweetheart? Yeah, so I was at the opera one night in Chicago, and he was there, and I don't know how much of the story I should tell, but he asked me out that night. He was at the end of a 3-month stint in Chicago working for a Swiss company, and we went out on 2 dates in a week, and 5 months later I was in Switzerland to live. So there's a longer story in that, but it was a kind of a whirlwind romance that worked out really, really well. 9 years later. It was great. I mean, I think it's a really good example of kind of trusting. It was definitely one of those experiences where neither of us knew where we were going, and it seemed like, you know, as the future is, it was a complete mystery to us, but we definitely trusted this sort of path that was opening up to us, and we decided to walk it. Hey, and if it's a lesson to anybody, you can definitely learn a second language in your 30s. I just want to say that. It's possible.
Well, next question comes from Kara I. Hoop. How did you guys not know that each of you existed?
That's a good question. Well, that's like the main question, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, so my dad, before he met my mom, hopefully.
That's a bit sketchy. We're a little bit unclear.
But anyway, so he met Karine's mom where he worked. They both worked at the hospital together, I think it was, wasn't it?
At Rush.
And then they ended up having like a little love affair or whatever. So I just know that her mom just ended up disappearing, and he didn't hear from her again. And he didn't even think twice. Like, he never thought that she would be pregnant or anything. So that was that on our side.
Yeah, it's hard to say what happened with my mom, because I think the details about what happened were kind of confused for her as the years went on. And I think at the time she decided, she'd had a little summer of love, let's put it that way. And so she wasn't entirely sure who the father was. And I think at the time, I guess she didn't feel it was necessary to find out. And she decided, she married someone else, and that person decided to adopt me, and so he became my father. And she just never said anything about Dad. She never told me until much, much later, and it came out. And in fact, it came out for me in 2006, and then I didn't find him until 2014.
Oh wow, I guess I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it was a big gap.
And you were like actually searching?
So I found out in 2006 that the father that I knew growing up wasn't my father.
Okay.
And then I tried to find Dad at the time.
And you knew his name?
I knew his name, but I couldn't find him, or at least not easily, you know. I did have an address in Naperville, but you know, I didn't want to necessarily just show up and knock on the door. So, and I couldn't find any other information. And then, you know, life happened, and I met my husband, and I ended up going to Switzerland. And then it was 2010, and I was pregnant with my daughter, and I tried to find him again one day. I was sitting at work in Switzerland, and I did some sleuthing online, and I found his partner's business, and ended up calling her and saying, "Hi, do you know Orlando Spell?" And she was like, yes. And I was like, I might be his daughter. So just kind of dropped that bomb
That's
on
a bomb.
her.
That's quite
right?
a bomb.
And she's like, I'm going to have him call you back. It's like, that's probably a good idea. But she was very nice about it. And yeah, that's how and then that was in 2010. But then 4 years passed. We talked on the phone. I actually called him. We talked on the phone. But there was nothing we could do about it. We couldn't figure out, you know, if he was really my dad or not. So he said, next time you're in town, get in touch with me and we'll see. And he gave me his email address, but I missed one letter in his email address. And after that, I sent him a bunch of pictures and just to see if there's anything that sparked any recognition of me when I was a kid. And he never wrote me back. And so I kind of thought maybe he wasn't really that interested. You know, he had his own life, he had his own kids. And so I just kind of left it. And then 4 years passed, and I wasn't...
Wow, I didn't know that. He
Yeah.
never told us that.
4 years, yeah, I think he didn't, I don't know if he was going to reveal anything when he wasn't sure. You know what I mean? That I think he was hesitant as well to kind of just drop that bomb on everybody. And then a friend of mine came to visit to Switzerland, and she's biracial, and her dad is black and her mom is white, and we were talking about being biracial, and I was like, I might be. Like, I don't know. I might be. Even though, like, my whole experience growing up was, I mean, I was called all of the biracial names, but I had no idea.
Yeah.
I was called Oreo Cookie, and I just thought, I don't know what that means, but I love Oreos, so it can't be bad. Like, who doesn't like a little Oreo cookie dunked in their milk?
It's very true.
So I didn't really have any context for it, even though my mom is very fair and has blonde hair and blue eyes, but whatever, you just don't know.
We don't, yeah.
And then this friend convinced me to contact him again when I was coming to Chicago anyway to see my mom. And I did, and we met, and we did the DNA test, and the rest is kind of history, as they say.
And the picture he showed us, like, that's how he told us. He was like, he sat us down, which, first of all, we had no idea what he was going to tell us. So he sat us down on the couch here, actually, and he goes, all right, I'm going to show you this picture. Let me know what you think. And he shows me this picture of her and him together, and they look exactly alike, and I knew immediately.
Really?
Yeah. Oh my god.
That's what he said.
Yeah. Like, I was like, no way. And then I started crying. And I was mortified.
It's so funny.
I was like, oh my god, because you never know.
Yeah.
Like, it's a miracle that, seriously, like, I mean, she could have been like,
I could have been crazy.
And then come in and disrupt this whole family.
You never know how these...
And that, I always think the worst when it comes to those things, but it's been such a blessing.
And I think he was worried about that too.
I think so.
He was really worried. He didn't know how you guys were going to take it, and he was worried to tell Signe, I think, as well at first. And I think he had to suss me out a little bit first. Like, was I, like a nice person? And I can completely understand that.
Yeah.
So speaking of Oreo cookies and chocolate, Peace In asks, is your sister in Europe temporarily or for the long haul? Asking this question while eating some Lindt chocolate, so yum. Is she eating a lot of Swiss chocolate while over in Switzerland?
Yes, I'm eating a lot of chocolate. No, I do eat a lot of chocolate actually there. So we're there indefinitely. It's sort of an open question for us all the time. We never know. Like, my husband's Swiss, so there's good reason to stay. My kids are half American, half Swiss, and their grandparents are there, and they have a lot of family there, and I'm actually Swiss now as well. I have an American passport and a Swiss passport, so I can vote there, and I have a job there, and a good life there. But it's sort of always an open question for us, I think, whether we'd want to come back to the States for a while to live. But for now, we're there.
CEO Sabby asks, have you and your sister always been close, and what helped you become closer and bond over sisterhood?
Okay, so we have not always been close because we just met a couple years ago, but it's interesting because I feel like, I know for me personally, after we got the news, I was actually devastated, but I felt, and I of course I Facebook stalked you like crazy. I'm like, who is this chick?
What does she want?
Exactly. So I'm like, looking up as much as I can possibly find on the internet about her, and I just felt it on the way home, like crying the whole way. And I just decided when I got home, I just felt really strong that the Lord was telling me to reach out to her, because I realized, as I prayed, like, this is very, in a sense, it was devastating at first for me, but the Lord made me realize that this is like a million times harder for her. And like, can you imagine being the one who didn't get to grow up with her father, and then all of a sudden you're coming into this already formed family, and like how intimidating that is for her. So I just felt like the Lord put it on my heart to reach out to her and like kind of reach my hand out to welcome her and just see what happened. And I did. As soon as I got home, I just sat there and been quiet, and I prayed and I asked the Lord to give me the words, and I wrote this long Facebook message, and I was pretty much blown away by her response, because it's weird because I'm a very wordy person and I'm very emotional, and I felt like her response was something that I would have wrote back. It's really cool. Like, it's so weird because I feel like we are so alike in the way we communicate, in the way we think. It's really cool. So it ended up being like great. I feel like our communications, because we both communicate in similar ways, I think it's made us a lot closer.
Totally.
Pretty quickly.
I mean, from my perspective, I have to just say my experience was that when you reached out, I felt open. I felt so much warmth and acceptance right away. I mean, in that reaching out, that I felt so free to be authentically myself. And that is a blessing, and that is not something that happens every day.
Yeah.
And just your willingness, or to put yourself out there and to be vulnerable with me, and I felt like it was an invitation for me to be vulnerable in return. And I think that's what bonds people, and to feel like you have a safe place to be vulnerable with somebody, and that person's going to take care of it and not hurt you, and I think we both had that intention.
For sure.
I definitely felt like, and I felt very, very quickly, I have to say, that you were my sister.
I did too.
And I feel like you're my brother. I do. I feel it. I don't know how to explain it. We don't have a lot of time together, but I feel it in my bones. And it's really funny. We don't have a lifetime together. We don't have a lot of memories together yet, but it's in me somewhere.
I agree. I feel the same.
And that's kind of crazy. I don't know how to explain that.
I feel like it's probably, I mean, God knows what he's doing, so he would have brought us together sooner if he knew that it was the right thing.
Well, it was definitely the right time.
Yeah.
Yes.
I feel like if we would have...
If you were a teenager?
Yeah, exactly. Oh. If I was a teenager and her and I knew each other, it could have gone one of two ways. She could have made me a better teenager, or I would have destroyed our relationship.
I wasn't ready to make you a better teenager. I was busy.
We would have been enemies. We would have been in counseling sessions together.
Yeah.
So it's probably a good thing that we met when we did, because I was pretty much an emotional mess. But having an older sister, though, might have helped. But I mean,
imagine
God
that too.
knows what he's doing.
So shout out to She Bean. She Bean says she has kind of a similar situation. She found out just recently she had a couple siblings she wasn't aware of. She thought there was 3, but there's actually 9 siblings.
Wow.
And she's met 3 out of the 9. The rest are in the Dominican Republic.
Wow.
Also has nieces and nephews that she's never met. Her questions are: does your sister have any kids? Do you have a lot of similar habits? Did you guys feel an instant bond when you met?
So I have 2 kids. I have an 8-year-old little boy and a 6.5-year-old little girl who's here, but she's maybe doesn't want to come on camera, right? Do you want to come on camera?
She's so pretty.
No, she doesn't want to. I would like to say one thing about habits, and then maybe it's more behavior or like kind of like a way of thinking, because I feel like we're very similar, extremely, and I also don't think this is super common. This compulsion to see the human in people.
Yeah.
And I have that really, I've had that since childhood too. And I don't think I've ever met someone as similar to me in that way as you.
Exactly, yes.
Right?
I feel the exact same way about that.
I mean, really, it's like it's deep.
Yeah, it's like, oh, that person just murdered like a bunch of people, but that person has pain.
It's not an excuse. It's not excusing what people do. It's not excusing what human beings do and the evil that they do.
Yeah.
But it's a recognition that for me, and maybe for you too, it came from living with troubled people, dysfunctional people, and sort of having to reconcile your love of those people with the things that they did that were harmful, and realizing that behind the harmful acts was this human being who maybe experienced their own traumas or conflict or whatever they experienced that created it created this sort of malfunction or this
And they're
dysfunction.
just reacting out of their pain.
And they don't understand it. And that's the thing. I think to me the scariest thing in the world is self-unawareness, or like,
Absolutely.
I call it like sort of being drunk in a way, like in the world, and sort of not having the ability to reflect or have introspection and understand what's behind your actions.
Or
right?
just understand really who you. I think the biggest thing the Lord taught me over the years is to know yourself. Like, just know yourself. Like, if you know you do the same thing all the time, just be aware of it and know you do it. And if you want to change it, then do something different.
Right.
Like,
And right, exactly. But if you don't do the work of knowing yourself, then you can't control what comes out.
Exactly.
And those are the dangerous individuals, I feel like, in the world.
Absolutely. But also, I feel like a lot of that, though, is a lot of the empathy. It's like I haven't gone through a lot of situations but I have so much empathy. I can feel other people's pain a lot of the time. And I feel like that's God-given.
That's interesting.
Because I don't feel like there's a lot of people who do not to. I mean, and it is like she said, it's really cool because we both having a conversation with her is like having a conversation with myself. It's really weird. I'm like, yeah, you're right. Because I'm always right, guys. I'm just kidding.
I like the way you said it, girl.
You guys feel like you had an instant bond?
I did,
Definitely.
yeah. Definitely.
Dana Spires asks, what do you both have in common?
Besides the stuff we just talked about, cats.
Yes, cats.
Lots of stuff. I mean, health, like food. Like food. We've talked a lot about like food and like health-related things. That's a good question.
That is a good question because I don't know that we really talked about hobbies.
Yeah.
I know you're active, but you're active
Sort
in
of.
different ways than I
Yeah,
am.
I'm a little bit lazy at the moment.
I am too. So we're like in that way. We can both
Very
be
crafty.
lazy.
I'm crafty. Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean that, and you are too. Actually, you're very entrepreneurial. Remember the lip balm stuff?
Oh, true. Yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of like that too. Like, I'll get an idea to like start doing something, and I'll start making my own like milk kefir or like kombucha or something like that.
Or dinner table.
Or dinner table. I made my own dining room table. I literally.
And you made what? What was the thing you
palette
made?
wall?
Yeah, she made a palette wall.
Oh,
That was cool.
Yeah, it was really, the table was awesome too because I was literally coming home from Germany. I was in Germany for something. I came home and it was like, I walked into my house and saw this table we had and I was like, I want like a farmhouse table. Like one of those tables with like the long wooden boards, like kind of roughed up a little bit. And I was like, okay, well, how do I get one without spending thousands of dollars? I'm like, well, I guess I have to make it.
Yeah.
So I just made this table. It took like 6 weeks and I put so much time into it and like research, and I had to do it all in German. I had to like figure out words for things I didn't even know. It was pretty awesome, but
It looks really good though.
Thank you.
Pictures. And I guess I'm
love
similar
it.
in that way because there was one time I wanted a bunk bed, and I I forgot about this. So I built my own bed.
okay. Oh my god.
I
that's
built the
amazing.
bunk bed and I made it really tall, and then I put like shelves underneath it, and
That's awesome.
yeah, it was pretty cool.
So there you
actually.
go.
So I guess
And Dad does that too,
Yeah.
right? He used to build stuff,
yeah,
right?
woodworking, yeah.
See,
Yeah,
there
table
you go.
upstairs that he built.
Yeah, the table he built. He builds fences and decks, and like he's
Yeah, the
amazing.
deck. He built the deck.
And the
Oh,
fence.
nice.
around
Oh,
the
really?
house, and he's very, very handy.
So maybe we got that in common.
Yeah.
Genetics, maybe that's genetic.
And I love working with wood too.
Do you
I got
really?
that from Dad.
Oh, that's
he's
really
good
cool.
at it.
Pamela Wooten asks, a question for your sister. How does it feel to know that you did not fit in with the family that you thought was your only family, to find out that you had another father that didn't know that you existed? How does it feel to know that you have a sister that you only met 2 years ago?
Well, I think my situation was maybe a little bit either more complicated or simplified by the fact that the man who I thought was my father growing up left my mom, or they divorced when I was 7, and I never saw him again after that. And so in a way it was very painful for me. I grieved a lot that loss. But in a way, it made it a little bit easier, I think, when I met my biological dad, because I didn't have any kind of loyalty issue. You know, it sounds kind of...
That makes sense.
Right? Like, and I was recently adopted by him, which sounds like a weird thing to have your biological father adopt you, but it was just a legal technicality, because the man who I thought was my father had adopted me when I was a baby. So in order to rectify that, my dad had to adopt me officially in the courts. And so I think that might have been actually a harder process if I had had a relationship with the father I knew until I was 7. But I think I've gone through a lot of different, definitely I went through a lot of different emotions in the beginning when I first found out, as you did, right? Yeah. And I did have some anger at first towards my mom, for not telling me, because I think you said we grew up actually really close.
Like 20 minutes apart.
Yeah, we're from like similar suburbs of Chicago. And yeah, he was sort of who knows, I maybe ran into you guys now and then on the street, and I never would have known.
Yeah.
So I think at first that was hard for me. I did have moments where I was really angry about it, but I have a lot of peace about it. I've had a lot of peace about it for a while now, because I did trust that there was a path, or a sort of a story that I couldn't have, that I can't begin to comprehend the totality of it. Yeah. And the way things played out, and the people when they were introduced into my life, I can't know. I know that I can't know what the true meaning of all of this is. And that's okay with me. I'm very, very grateful now that you're here. I'm really, really grateful that you guys are in my life. I'm really grateful to know Dad now. But yeah, I don't know. Did that answer the question?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I experienced a lot of anger too. I was angry at your mom.
Oh, yeah, right.
Because, even everybody has family issues, and our dad tries his best to be the best dad that he can, but he is a protector. And if, I think that your living situation wasn't ideal, and he would have taken you out of it and protected you from it. So I think I felt a lot of sadness, because we had a great childhood, and you didn't get to be a part of it, and I think I struggled with that.
All right, Jen Bowles asks, what's the best thing about finding out that you have a sister?
Having a sister.
Yeah, exactly. Having a sister. And then, that ties in with what we already said about how, we're so much alike, and I feel like we understand each other, and we can communicate and just get it. To have somebody understand you pretty fully.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. Not a lot of sisters even can say that.
Yeah.
But especially,
it's true.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I totally agree. I feel really lucky. I don't know. Definitely. Having a sister is pretty awesome.
It is pretty awesome.
Okay, Juana Johnson asks, how is your sister coping with missing the years of knowing her real father? Was there a point in the situation where forgiveness was needed?
Yeah, I guess that goes back to the other question a little bit, but definitely forgiveness was needed. Yeah, definitely. I think more so towards my mom than anyone, because she, and like Dad, she wasn't perfect. She passed away now, but she wasn't perfect. But she thought she was doing what was best for me at the time by not telling me. And I can't say I completely understand all of her motivations for doing it. I have some idea, but I think it took me some time to try I think for her too, she had to kind of go back into the past and into her very sort of vague memory of the events and what happened, because she hadn't thought about it in a long time. Although she would allude to things sometimes, like the time out of the blue, I was doing some research in a black church on the south side, and I went in there to do an ethnography. I was doing my master's thesis, and I started like an anthropologist, observing. But I just wanted to. I was interested in studying how faith was manifest in action, like in everyday action. I really was really interested in it. And I went from observer to full-blown participant in the 3 months. I went to like 4 services a week for a few months there. And by the end, I was like full-on participant. Like during the praise and worship hour, I knew all the words to all the songs. I was singing them as loud as my neighbors. And I remember one time we were talking and she turns around and she was like, I don't know, maybe your dad's black. And I was like, what? Like, why would you say that? And she's like, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. I don't know why. And I was like, who says that? You know, like, how would that come out of your mouth, you know? And it wasn't until years later that it came out about Dad, but yeah, and there was somehow I knew growing up that I was adopted, or at least I would ask her sometimes if I was adopted because I didn't understand why I was browner than everybody else in the family because my mom's family is 100% German. So it didn't really make a lot of sense to me, but anyway, I think I got off topic a little bit. Yes, there was some forgiveness needed for sure, but I definitely got there.
Nadia D asks, is your sister a Christian as well?
Yes and no. And that's a difficult question for me to answer, I think. Actually, you know, if I just answer it for myself, then I would say I've had a long relationship with Christianity. I was raised in a Christian home, but my mom was actually, I guess what you'd call a seeker. You know, she spent a lot of my youth exploring different faiths. So when I was born, I guess she would have been considered Christian, but then she married a Muslim man. She was Muslim for a little while. Then she was, I think, Buddhist for a minute, and then I think she was interested in Hinduism for a time, but never converted. But I mean, the point is, like, when I was a kid at home, we always had all of these religious texts around. And it was always for her a big deal. We're recording, just so you know, you can come sit on my lap. You want to sit on my lap? Come here. So I think that influenced me, but when I was younger, I had a very, very, very deep interest actually in the Bible and in Jesus, and I wanted to know more. I didn't want to just know the stories. I wanted to know what it meant for my life, like my lived experience. Do you know what I mean? And I think that was something that unfortunately as a child I didn't have answered really. And instead I had a lot of people around me who maybe contradicted a lot of what I learned in church. So that was really hard for me, but it didn't shake my belief that there are processes, there's a force, that there's something beyond me and beyond us as individuals. For me, it's strangely like a force that infuses everything. It's sort of like, for me, it is kind of everything. And I believe that it's influence. I believe that acts of love and kindness and compassion are sort of manifestations of it and influence the direction of this sort of force. Do you know what I mean? Yes. And that they're life affirming and life supportive. And I believe that, you know, acts of malicious acts, you know, are life destructive and go against it. So for me, I feel always very comfortable in churches. In fact, I've always had a very, very deep respect for church as a sacred space. I can't take pictures in churches, and I feel very reverent in them. Not just churches though, for me it's also holy places. For me, religions around the world, you know, I think at their core at least, or their original intention was meant to provide people a way to live in concordance with life and to cherish and uphold life. And of course human beings do a lot to deny that and turn it into politics and earthly things, but I have a deep, deep respect for the work of the faithful.
Gwen Kennedy asks, Sister Q&A, question 1, heels or flats?
Oh God, flats for me.
Flats most of the time, but I do like heels.
I think they're really, really hot, to be honest.
They are.
But they're so uncomfortable to me. I have very long legs, and I know it sounds maybe like a good thing, right? But when I was growing up, people called me Daddy Long Legs. because my torso is really, really short. You see, right?
Look, my hips
Yes,
are here and my
yes.
ribs are right here.
Yes. Girl,
We should measure.
Girl, I swear to God, this is the thing. If when you have babies,
Okay.
they're gonna go this way. Because my babies were like out to here because there's no space. I'm sorry. I'm just letting you know. So I always felt really self-conscious about my legs, and I was really like bone thin growing
I
up.
wasn't.
That's
Really?
what each-
I was so
I'm still
self-conscious. I felt like people called me a spider. So I was like, so I didn't want to wear high heels because it accentuated my length. And I felt like made me look even thinner than I was. So I don't know, maybe it's kind of a hangover from that, and I don't walk so gracefully in them. So
And I was the opposite. Like I felt like it elongated me. It made me look thinner than I was. Because I was always a little bit like I'm at a good place now, but I wasn't always. I used to never wear flats ever. I used to like make fun of people who wore flats.
that would have been our
Like
conflict.
I don't know how you can wear flats. Like oh my god.
What about high school?
It was like right out of high school I started wearing heels more.
Okay.
And then I just never wore flats ever until I moved until I started working at the salon that I'm working at now, because and the reason why I stopped was because the floors are so slippery.
Oh wow.
And I would work 12-hour days in heels, but it was just like
They
I
were
was just
comfortable
there.
for
I was
you.
yeah. And even
Yeah.
now like, they don't hurt my feet as much as they used to, but my feet are getting used to flats again
Mm-hmm.
more now because Greg doesn't like when I'm taller than him.
Mm-hmm.
So
I was always also just like all about comfort.
Yeah.
Like I wanted
I'm more
just
so
to be
now.
comfortable.
Yeah.
So I always wore flats. But I do have 2 pairs of high heels. One I never wear, and the other one I think I wear once a year, if that.
Gwen Kennedy also asks, complete this statement. My sister is...
Awesome.
Amazing.
Beautiful, incredible. Really a star. I don't know. I really don't know how to explain it. I think you're an amazing person.
Thanks. I think you're amazing too, and beautiful, and just so loving and tenderhearted and intelligent and a good mom.
I think we like each other, you guys. Kind of nice.
Kind of nice.
7312 Cookie asks, can your sister sing and cook too?
Oh God, please don't make me sing.
As you saw on one of our vlogs, if you watched back on Christmas Day, when it was the first time that you guys ever met her on Meet the Love Offs, she sang a clip of George Michael. I got it. What is it? Freedom.
Freedom 90.
That's what it is. So, and she stays on pitch. So
I can
yeah.
stay on pitch. I love to sing. I sing all of the time. And I'll say this, I think sometimes I can sing and sometimes I can't.
Yeah, I'm like
And
that
I don't
too,
know why,
actually.
really.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a thyroid thing. I don't know, it sounds so weird, but like I literally have days where it feels like there's a frog in my throat
Yes.
and I cannot get anything
And there's some
out.
days where your voice is loose and you
Yes.
hit those runs and you're
That's
like,
it.
dang,
That's
I just
it.
did that.
Hey, I'll be like, Danny, did you hear that? Somebody press record. Did you hear that just now? Let me do that again. Okay, we don't have to.
Wow.
You guys missed it. It was really funny what she just did. Oh my god. I wish they had been rolling.
Seriously, that was funny.
Well, you know what it reminds me of? Like, I can't watch like a video, like a music video without thinking like, how can they actually do that? Like there was this like Jennifer Lopez video one time. I can't remember the song, but she was just like all feeling on herself. And I was like, how can you take yourself seriously right now? You know what I
Exactly.
mean?
Or when they're like half naked and they're like,
That's it, right?
like I don't get it.
I don't get it
That on the
either.
video.
I just don't even know
I don't either.
how you can take yourself so seriously. Right
I
now.
don't either.
I would never be able to do that. Oh, cooking.
Yes, can you sing and cook?
Should we
73
sing the answer? I love to cook, yes I do. I take an egg or two.
Ooh, okay with your vibrato.
Nice.
I hear you. I'm gonna put that
I hear, yeah,
I
okay.
love that.
I enjoy singing. I know you love to sing,
Yes.
and I would love to hear you sing sometime, but I won't make you do it right now. But I love to sing. I mean, for me, I feel like it's cathartic, and I
Yeah.
sing even when I can't sing. So,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, I'll be all over Stevie Wonder, and I cannot sing like him, but I will do it because I just love it. And in fact, it's sort of a joke, like, if there's, and I know a lot of music, lyrics to music, and I like to know the lyrics so I can sing along. But if there's music on that I know, then having a conversation with me doesn't happen.
I understand. Yeah.
So
It's like
actually turn
annoying
off.
when you're like
Yes.
singing a song and someone tries to talk to you.
Right.
I'm like, do you not hear
Yes.
me? Trying to do these runs.
I'm like, hold on. This part.
Right, you can't. Exactly.
I mean, that was this morning, by the way, because George Michael died, as we know, last night. So I had to play some George Michael this morning, and I was singing to Careless Whisper. Do you know that song?
But how's it go? I'm
gonna dance again. Guilty feet, I got no rhythm.
A lot of people redid that song. I love that song. That was
Isn't it
his
a great
original?
song? Yeah.
Okay.
I know you're
I do
not
love that song.
fool. And my husband was trying to talk,
Oh yeah.
and I was like, shh.
I do respect.
Yeah,
Careless Whisper.
give me a minute. Give me a minute. I'm mourning. Yeah, so I love it. Do you do that at home? Do you like?
Actually, it's interesting because I don't listen to a lot of music anymore.
I remember you said that.
I don't know
actually.
why. When I listen to a lot more like secular music,
Mm-hmm.
I mean it was constant. I was always singing, but like I just don't listen to a lot of music anymore. I don't know if it's because it like brings back memories from that time period that I don't know.
I understand that. I mean, that's the thing about music, and I think it's why it's so appealing is
Yeah.
that it does get people in touch with emotions that, and you have associations with certain music that can be painful.
It can be, yeah.
And it can also transport you back to a time when maybe
that
you weren't as
don't-
happy.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and I don't want to feel that, even though, like, if I were to listen to music, like, whenever I do, I love, like, 90s R&B. And I
Awesome.
always listen to,
Yeah.
like, I love
Do you
it.
remember that? It's such
What?
a dirty song,
Which
but I
one?
love it. Next, do you remember Too Close?
Yeah.
Baby, when
Oh,
we're
that, I really
young.
like, do you remember
Yeah.
Butter Love?
No, I don't remember
You got that butter love. You don't remember that? Oh my gosh, that was my jam.
Oh my god. Okay, we're gonna listen to those two
Baby,
songs
when
out.
we're grinding, I get so excited. Ooh, how I like it. Try but I can't find it. Oh, you're dancing real close, sweet and real slow. You're making it hard for me. Baby, just dancing so close. Ain't a good idea, 'cause I'm gonna want you now and here. The way that you shake it on me makes me want you so bad sexually. Oh girl, step like you're dancing kinda close. You feel a little poke coming through. Are you?
It's
You don't remember Butter Love?
No,
I have to play that for
okay,
you.
good idea.
We're gonna have to YouTube that one because that was my jam.
How bad are those lyrics?
Terrible.
I mean,
It's
they're
funny,
so bad.
But it's
they're
better
good.
than nowadays though.
I agree with you, actually. Remember
Just
Casey and
so sad.
JoJo?
Oh,
yeah.
Greg's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
oh yeah.
Still love them.
Definitely. I think my favorite though, even though I think he was a little maybe he was a little 90s, but not so much. More maybe 2000s, but Maxwell.
Oh
like
yeah.
Maxwell.
Oh my god, I forgot about
Maxwell.
him completely.
I love Maxwell.
I completely.
But he
forgot
was
about
more
him.
like romance, not like dirty sex.
I was like in the 90s though. I was into like Tribe Called Quest,
Yeah.
Arrested Development.
Yeah,
Do you
I
remember
love
that?
Arrested
I
Development.
love that
Yeah.
too, Mr. Wind.
I listen to more like R&B, like Smooth, like Boyz II Men, and stuff like that.
I didn't really listen to Boyz II Men. I mean, I knew they're like popular songs, but I didn't really listen to them much. But I am 8 years older. I think someone asked us about the age gap, didn't they?
Oh, they did. Okay.
At some point,
Yeah.
I don't remember what the question was.
Greg's like.
Oh, they want to know
"Have you
how
ever
if I was
through
older.
this?"
This is going to be an hour long. You're gonna have to edit the hell
I
out of it.
am going to. It's gonna take me a while.
Lovely Peach T asks, what's the biggest difference between America and Switzerland?
That's a good question.
The biggest difference. Ooh, that's a good question. The biggest difference. For me, I think because I mean, we grew up pretty much in Chicago. I would say Evanston Oak Park considers themselves part of
Yeah.
Chicago. I think for me, one of the biggest differences is, I think I was saying last night, this like sense of security. And I think there are definitely places in America that have that too. So it's not, you know, exclusive to Switzerland, but I think growing up here and then going there, yeah, this is sort of, it's a country of about 7 million people, so it's really small compared to the United States. But I think there's a pretty pervasive sense of trust that runs throughout, and that's really nice. You know, our kids, even from the time they were like 4 and 5, were walking alone to school, and that's very normal there. And you know, you feel like you can leave things unlocked and kind of like, I mean, it's kind of a joke actually in Switzerland that if you lose your wallet or like your iPhone on a train, you will get it back and probably some extra money on top of it. Like,
wow.
I mean,
That's such an awesome
I mean,
feeling,
it is. I mean, and it's not necessarily always true, of course, but it's true enough that it's kind of a stereotype about Switzerland that you can kind of trust. And that a lot of it, I think there's also this sense that people are really taken care of there. You know, you almost never see homelessness, which is really shocking. I mean, and I've been there now almost 9 years, 8.5 years, and I think I can count on one hand how many homeless people I've seen there. And I think it's because, I mean, I don't know how you would want to interpret this, but I think if someone is homeless and they're found on the street, they'll usually get picked up by the police and taken somewhere to get housed. And you know, there's another thing about Switzerland that I really like is that everyone has access to health care, and the point is it's actually mandatory, but if you can't pay, the government pays for it. And I personally find that's something for me that's really, really important, and I feel taken care of in a sense. You know, like I never have to worry about, it's not linked to your job, so if you lose your job, you don't have to worry about not having it. And that's something that's been important to me, based on my history with my mom. My mom had breast cancer. She was almost in the poorhouse, and her insurance dropped her while she was going through chemo.
Yeah.
It was really bad, and you know, I think it was really scary. That was a really scary time for us. So, otherwise, what else? I mean, I see the Alps from my balcony. That's a big difference, and that is still something I'm in awe about. I have to admit, even like almost 9 years later, whenever I see the Alps, man, they're so beautiful. What can I say? I feel really blessed to be able to just to see them. They're gorgeous. They're majestic.
I can't imagine that.
And one more thing is about, I would say, food. Everything's very local. They have this kind of culture about food as well that like you can get some foods imported, but I mean, I was at the grocery store one time and there was this older couple and they stood in front of the asparagus for like 20 minutes trying to decide whether they should buy asparagus because it was imported from Spain, and actually they didn't feel comfortable with that. They wanted to wait till it was asparagus season to buy it. It was really, really funny. But there's kind of this culture of like slow food, you know, local food, and I appreciate that because you know the source of your food, you know it's real healthy, you know that there's not a lot of chemicals used on it. A lot of things are banned in Switzerland to use. A lot of like pesticides and stuff that are considered dangerous are banned, and I like that.
That'd be nice.
I really do. I like that. One other thing about Switzerland, because it's an interesting place, and I think a lot of people don't know this, and I found it really fascinating. There are 4 national languages in Switzerland. There's Swiss German, but they also speak High German, which is actually just German to the rest of us. Then there's French, Italian,
Italian?
And then,
I didn't know
in the south of Switzerland they speak Italian, and then there's a pocket of Switzerland. About 30,000 people speak a language called Romansh, and it's like a real old sort of Latin base, like similar. It's related to Italian. Language that, really only
That's
a small,
cool.
it's like in the mountains, only a small number of, or 30,000 people speak it still. But when you go to this
that's
area of
interesting.
Switzerland, you see the signage, and you think it looks like Italian, but it's not quite Italian.
Wow.
It's really interesting. I find that,
really
I mean, what's fascinating to me is like how they form a national identity as Swiss, even though they have different languages. Like if I go to the French-speaking part of Switzerland, I can't really use my German. I mean, theoretically they should be able to speak German, but most either don't or don't want to. And so it's really weird to go within the same country and not be able to speak the language.
Deanna Lopez asks, how far apart in age are you and your sister?
8 years, yeah. You were born in 83?
82.
82. I'm 75. 1975.
But we look the same age.
Oh, thank you, Shauna.
We actually do, though.
Thank you, Shauna. I guess it's my anti-wrinkle cream around my eyes.
Yeah.
My eyes is.
It's the Bell jeans.
Yeah, I hope so.
I think it is.
I hope I got a little bit of that.
You did.
Because
You
he
look just like him.
he doesn't look 80.
No. It's. I
Right?
can't believe that he's 80.
Right? He
There's
might have a
something-
little 80 in his walk, but otherwise he looks.
He looks really young.
Right?
Yeah.
Would you say?
Yeah, I was surprised too.
Bell jeans.
Mia Dub asks, what are your favorite hobbies? What are your favorite foods? And what's on your bucket list?
Ooh, bucket list.
that's a good question. My favorite hobbies. I mean, I love to work out, even though my motivation sometimes is on the struggle bus. Off and on, I struggle, but I do love to work out. What are my hobbies? I love to sing.
Vlogging?
I don't know. It's a I guess it
Vlogging.
is vlogging,
Kinda.
but I'm just a very chill person. I just love to spend time with the people that I'm closest with.
Hobbies. I don't really think of myself as having hobbies.
Yeah, I guess that's not really a hobby, but
But of course I love to do stuff, so
Yeah.
what do I love to do? I also really love to be active. I
Me
mean, I
too.
used to work out like crazy. I mean, I would used to do Kung Fu 6 days a week for 2 hours at a
did?
time. Yeah, and I loved it.
that's
I felt like a powerhouse. I felt like a rock. you know that feeling? Like
I did powerlifting. I felt the same way. Like nobody could touch me. So I guess my favorite food. I enjoy healthy foods like salads and stuff, but I think my favorite food is Thai food. If I had to choose one, I love all food, and it's hard for me to choose one favorite, but I love Thai food.
Nice.
Yeah.
I have to say I'm pretty meat and potatoes. More sweet potatoes though
Yes.
than regular potatoes. I really like sweet potatoes. I don't know, maybe it's partly because after my kids were born I needed more protein. My body craved it like crazy. So maybe I just got used to that, but even when I was younger, I mean, and it sounds really gross, and I'm really sorry to any vegans or vegetarians out there. I really don't mean any disrespect, but when I was younger, I remember thinking I could always have room for a steak.
Oh, for sure.
Like I craved red meat like nobody's business.
I love
And I think it was something about
That's
my
how
body.
I'm going through that now. I feel like
Really?
red meat. I just
Gotta have it.
I keep wanting to go to Sam's Club and get like a big old thing of like steaks. I love it.
When I was 12 years old, I broke my jaw in a car accident. And I had to have my jaw wired shut for 6 weeks. So I couldn't talk, I couldn't open my mouth beyond this. And I remember one time, I'll never forget, my mom made a steak. I'm so sorry.
gosh, what
I
did
was
you
so
do?
hungry.
No, you did not.
You can edit this
No,
out.
you didn't.
Yes. I wrung the juices out of the steak and I drank the juice.
Oh.
I was so hungry. I was so hungry. And because all I could do, everything I ate out of a straw. So you.
She just ground it up in a blender and drank it, the steak.
Oh God. Yeah, that's also gross.
That's-
I guess it's not any better.
So you
That's
just like squeeze, like literally
yeah,
squeeze
literally
the
squeeze
juices
it out
and you drink,
it.
the juices.
Yeah, you can edit that out.
No, I put that in. Are you kidding?
So yeah, I think I like a lot of vegetables. I like a lot
love
of
vegetables,
vegetables and sweet potatoes and protein,
Yeah, protein.
eggs.
Protein? He always makes fun of me because I'm always talking about protein.
Seriously, I do too.
My body functions better
Yes.
on more protein versus anything else.
Yeah, me too, definitely. So I guess that's my favorite. Ooh, I can't think of anything else. Chicago's got great food. If anyone doesn't know that, Chicago has some of the best food in the country, and I think people from Chicago would definitely agree. Probably people outside of Chicago just get in line.
Exactly.
Just accept. That's the way it is. And then we got some of the best pizza.
Oh yeah.
Some people might not call it pizza, but we do, and it's good.
Oh, it's amazing.
It's real good.
And it's on the way.
Yes,
In an
we
hour.
ordered some. Bucket list. What about bucket list?
Oh gosh. I want to ride in a hot air balloon.
Ooh.
I would love to go to Egypt, but I know that probably can never happen now.
I have a big one. I don't know if I have too many, actually, but I have one big one, and that's to see the Northern Lights. I really
yes.
love like everything.
But isn't
related.
that like a hit or miss thing?
I think it can be, but it's pretty like as long as you go far enough north, and in the wintertime, you have a really good chance of seeing them.
And for those of you who don't know what the Northern Lights are,
the best places to view them in our hemisphere, because there are Southern Lights, but the Northern Lights, the best viewing places would be like Scandinavia, Norway, Sweden, Iceland.
Iceland is what I was thinking.
What's one of the other really good places? I'm forgetting now. Maybe like places like in Alaska or Northern Canada might be also good places to view it. But it's been on my list forever. I'm a big sort of a, what would you call it, astronomy fan.
Ooh, I'm like obsessed with planets.
Wait a minute. Did I know that about? Wait.
I don't know
Wait a
if we
minute.
talked about that or not.
Okay, that's really big.
But I've always been like, especially Saturn. I think all the rings. I've always been like fascinated with space.
Me too.
And like the
Me too.
galaxy.
Me too.
And that's why Interstellar was one of my favorite.
Oh my god, I love that
movies.
movie.
We were just talking about
I get
that.
chills about that.
Listen, I went to go see it, and I was meeting Jimmy, Jason, and my mom.
We're having a moment here.
On there?
Yeah. I was meeting Jimmy, Jason, and my mom at the movie theater, and they were late, but I bought my ticket already, so I watched the whole movie, and they went to a different one, and I came out, I was like, that movie was freaking amazing. And we went right back in, and I watched it again immediately. It was so good.
Can I just tell you guys that I think we're finding out something else is really weird.
Yeah.
Because I was obsessed with astronomy when I was younger.
Me too.
Like,
I loved it. I didn't like, I wanted to, if I could go back and be an astronaut, I would. I really would.
I actually took an astronomy class, and it unfortunately kind of deflated my dreams a little bit because I realized I didn't have the aptitude for math and physics that it required.
Listen.
But I used to have like all of those like what were the names of those like special like kind of like encyclopedias but just about space.
Yeah.
You know what else I love about space is this it's this feeling of I call it a feeling of insignificance, but it's not in a bad way. It's like perspective.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, you think about space and the fact that it's infinite, and like I don't know, for me it's like I'm like in awe of it because God did this, like, and it's just, first of all, so beautiful and so intricate.
Yeah.
How did you place everything so? It's just amazing.
It's amazing.
I wish I could go see it.
It's amazing.
It was amazing.
Anyway, thank you. Thank you for the question. We learned something today.
Such a good sport.
Yeah, you are. You really are. I know.
There's like two of them. Oh Lord.
D-Rose G asks, what mannerisms did you both or each notice you have in common?
I think I found one just recently, actually. Because you do this a lot with your lips.
I do.
And I noticed I've been doing that too. And I was like, oh, I think Shauna does that.
I do that
so
a
maybe.
lot.
Anytime before she'd go to kiss me, I always noticed that she'd do that.
But it's because you have chapstick on. We're chapstick junkies.
I'm just weird about chapped lips.
Me
My
too.
yeah. Like, I don't like my lips are dry when people smile, and then like and like you know that their lips have more room to spread, but they're so chapped that they can't.
And if they did, it would like crack open.
I hate that.
That's great.
I just want to like, you need some? You need some?
Right? I need some.
That's great.
You know they're lips of I am
Sure,
never
you
gonna
know.
forget that. Next time I see somebody try to smile at me in the cold. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
This is
Go
actually
ahead.
the last part.
Let's go.
last
Okay,
question.
last question.
Me and Dub, one last question, or two questions. She asked, what makes you most emotional and what makes you unhappy?
Okay. I'm always emotional. I think what makes me most emotional, I guess, I don't know. Like, I get emotional in good ways and I get emotional in bad ways. I think that there's different triggers. I think when I think about my family, I get really emotional, like in a sad way sometimes. But also a good way. But I think like just thinking about like the magnitude of God and like where he brought me, like how far I've come and you know what he's done in my life, I get probably the most emotional because it's pretty much a miracle that I am the way that I am, because I've come a very long way, and that I'm so grateful. I'm just so grateful, and that makes me the most emotional. I would say.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I think I remember having this several years ago. It was actually right around the time I met Daniel. Actually, it was that winter that I met my husband, Daniel. And I had this dream. I don't know. I think I might have told you this dream. It's very short, but I had this dream that I was actually lifted up into the sky. It was a night sky full of stars, and I was fighting the air around me. It was like I was resisting something, and so I was thrashing my arms and my legs. And all of a sudden, I didn't know what I was fighting. I was just fighting. I was in resistance. And in the dream, I just let go. I stopped fighting. And as soon as I let go, I started to be moved by a force that I couldn't see. And it was moving me through this night sky. And it was really beautiful. And it was really moving me at an incredible speed, but I trusted it. It was so fast, but I wasn't feeling scared. And it was moving me toward this one star, and then all of a sudden I heard a voice in the dream say, "This is the dawning of a new day." And everything went black. When I woke up from that dream, I kid you not, I wouldn't say this is not common for me either, even though I've had quite vivid dreams all my life. I felt this incredible sense of peace, and it felt like something broke open, and it was gratitude. It was like something in me stopped fighting. It was this let go and let God. It was that feeling. It was this kind of trust life feeling that I had, and I cried for weeks. But it was this gratitude cry. It would literally, I don't know, and maybe it's too much. I don't know if this is too much, but I would literally just put my hands together and just say thank you, thank you, thank you, and cry, and it felt so good. And I think for me also, I mean, the things that make me cry, I don't know, I guess are the things that make anyone cry, really. My mom died this year, and I think what made me cry about that was just, of course there was the sadness of losing your parent, but even more, I think I felt the sadness of the life that she lived. It was very hard, and she suffered a lot, and just being in that pain. But for me, crying has always been such a release, right? Yeah. And really to be with it. Like, for me, it's really about being with that experience and allowing it to express itself through you, because trying to stifle it doesn't work.
Because sometimes you cry and it's not, like, I know, especially lately, I'm just so grateful for what God has done in my life and bringing Greg. Like, I mean, you know what I've been through, and it was so hard, and like the Lord brought Greg into my life so fast. And a lot of times, even now, like, I mean, marriage is tough. Like, just merging two grown adult lives together is very hard. But, you know, Greg makes it very simple. But I find myself, I cry a lot, but not because I'm sad. Yeah. Like, I cry a lot because I think I'm in shock, for one. But, like, a lot of times crying is not, like, you don't cry always because you're sad. No. Like, sometimes you just need
gratitude
to release, though.
Right.
Like, you know, even if you don't know what it is, like, you just need to release.
Totally.
Like, if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling anxiety or whatever it is, like, sometimes crying just helps to, like, okay,
well, you know,
and then you can move on.
I have this, like, so one of the things I do in Switzerland is I teach a mindfulness course.
That's right.
So one of the things that we talk about on the course, because I really love science as well. I love research. I love asking questions and exploring things. And there's a lot of work that's been done in neuroscience with mindfulness, like studying the effects of these things. And I don't need it to believe it.
Yeah.
But I think it's fascinating. And so one thing about crying that I thought was really interesting is that it's actually, you know, when you're really, really stressed and you're in resistance, basically you're in resistance, it's harder to cry. Your sympathetic nervous system is activated, and it shuts down bodily processes that the body doesn't need, and it puts you into this hyper kind of fight or flight mode. The moment you release, the moment you start to relax, your parasympathetic nervous system can be activated, and that's often crying is one of the acts that brings that on. So crying can actually literally relax you.
Yeah.
It
that makes
activates
sense.
the other part of the nervous system that's the rest and digest part of the nervous system. So it's a very healing. It can be very healing and very relaxing, and help your body to kind of relax and come out of a stress response.
It makes sense.
It's really interesting.
I think that's probably what I've been doing a lot of.
Yeah, it can be. I mean, because especially when you're in a stressful relationship, you spend years
Of
in that
damage.
stress
Absolutely.
mode.
Bodies are so fast.
It is. It really is. Yeah, totally. That's how I feel too. The other thing that makes me cry is people, and I know you can relate to this, like in movies or in just life in general, when people's humanity is seen by others, or like there's redemption. Like I think anything involving redemption and inclusion always triggers me.
Well, I guess that's it, guys. I know this was a long video, but I hope that you guys enjoyed it. But thank you for watching and for meeting my sister.
Thank you guys for asking us questions, and I look forward to seeing you again sometime.
Yes, hopefully sooner than later. So thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, give us a thumbs up, comment, share, subscribe, and help us to continue growing our family. Bye, love.
Bye.